Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, Mira Boucher,
Carl Boucher.
cheers!
Cheers.
And happy Wine Wednesday. I realize that I'm a little crooked here, but that's
Happy
fine.
Valentine's.
Happy
Carl is
Valentine's.
wearing the Valentine's-y shirt. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? You're the third person who told me that today. It was not planned because I had an early recording this morning. It was the first shirt on the top. But you know, when I went to buy a gift to my Valentine's today, the lady who answered me said the same thing. Oh, you're wearing your Valentine's shirt today. Well, I said, no shit, Einstein. I'm here to buy a Valentine's gift, so why not, right?
You had to dress the part to go buy the gift. I mean, right?
So yes, happy Valentine's to all of our listeners. Happy Valentine's to you. Happy Valentine's to all of the Canadian wine lovers.
It's pretty funny because on June 15th, we are descending in Oliver with a bunch of Carl's Wine Club members, a bunch of really great people, and a bunch of winemakers from across Canada. And we're going to taste wines from coast to coast. 12 wines from Vancouver Island to Nova Scotia. And Mr. Cab Franc, Brian Schmidt from Vineland Estates, who we're about to interview here, he is coming out on June 15th. And the next day happens to be Father's Day. So he's going to have probably a delayed Father's Day with his family. Tonight is Valentine's Day. And so he said, we were like, oh, you're going to come for the interview on Wine Wednesday this week, right? And he's like, I don't know how I can explain to my family that I spent Valentine's Day and Father's Day with Carl and Mira. So
yeah, it was the way he put it on. It was like, oh yeah, you're right, Mr. Cab Franc.
So the interview with Brian Schmidt is recorded, but it is a good one. We pulled out some of these amazing backstories from Brian, who's been in the industry and in the wine industry in Canada for a very long time on both sides of the country. He was born in a vineyard not far from our place here in the Okanagan, and is now making wines out in Ontario. So
for what, almost 3 decades now. So I mean, he's as knowledgeable that he is entertaining. He's as gracious with his knowledge that is humble. I mean, this guy, he's one of my ultimate favorite wine person across the country. And funny enough, and I have to share that details with our listener. First and foremost, I want to say welcome to all of our Instagram listener, and I hope everyone is enjoying the show. We're now the first month of doing Wine Wednesday on Instagram as well. So welcome everyone. Welcome the Canadian wine lovers from all of the provinces across the country. It's 8 o'clock right now out east. It's 6 o'clock in the mountain. And across the country, we are so thrilled and so excited to share Vineland Estate Week here at Carl's Wine Club. We have many anecdotes. We have many insight about Vinelands, about Carl's Wine Club, a lot of things to talk about today. But started this morning at 7 a.m. while we were already at work for over 2 hours, and I'm just about to get on a recording with Brian Schmidt. And Mira said, Carl, please do me a favor. Let's not more than 15 minutes for this one, okay, please? Because there's so much we want to talk about. And I walk up the stairs and I'm like, yep. So I get on the link and Brian pops up on the screen. Says, hey man, how's it going? So, by the way, we have 15 minutes. And Brian starts laughing. He's like, yeah, right. Of course, 15 minutes. You and me talking about wine, 15 minutes. Of course. So we did pretty well. I had 15 minutes given to me and we did in 36 minutes. So
not bad. I mean, if it were live, you guys would be like trying to do your Valentine's dinner and listening to this interview for like 2 hours. It wouldn't be feasible. Okay. So this will give you a little glimpse into that, a condensed version.
Condensed at 36 minutes. I felt really proud. We stopped the recording and we start laughing. It's the first thing both of us thinking of Mira in the 15 minutes timeline we had, and we start laughing. It was like, hey, guess what? It was pretty good. So, but before we start on all of that, I want to let's hold on to the interview a little bit, because we have some fantastic wines in our glass. We have some fantastic wines to talk about. I want to know, quick question for you, all of you who are listening, even if you're listening on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Carl's Wine Club page, Carl's Wine Club VIP, wherever you're listening from, I want to know which pop. What are you popping tonight? What are you drinking? What are you pouring for your Valentine's tonight? I want to know.
So someone's gotten us started here. I think they're in the VIP group because I can't see who it is, but they're having Valentine's dinner with a 2009 Riverstone Estate Cab Franc, which
what? 09 Riverstone. Holy shit. I love that. I love that. Serious wine drinker here. Oh, that's our people. I love it. Listen, I have 3 wines open tonight. Okay, I have 3 single vineyard, single clone, all from the same vineyard, 2 varietals. I have 2 bottles of Pinot of Cabernet Franc. Obviously, we're talking Vineland Estate. We're talking Mr. Cab Franc himself. So I have the pre-release. These 2 wines are not available on the market anywhere in Canada. Nowhere. It's not released yet, but only for us this week. I have the 2020 Vintage of the Century Boutique Single Vineyard Cabernet Franc, Clone 214 and Clone 327. Both of them are side by side in my glass. Breathing right now.
Oh, I think we lost Carl. Clay and Johanna, I see you guys are having the 19 Mount Boucherie Summit, which is amazing. The Summit is just one of those wines. You know you're going to have a good evening when you open a Summit from Mount Boucherie, don't you? It's great. Hopefully we'll get Carl back here soon. Otherwise, Carl, you should just come downstairs. You should just come. I mean, I got lots of wine down here too. It's great. Yeah. So, because Carl's having difficulties, I will go ahead and get us started on Brian Schmidt's interview with Carl. It's a good one. There is a story in here about Canadian unity that I had never heard before from many years ago. I think you guys will really enjoy it, and quite a few other gold nuggets in here. It's really worth the listen. And after the interview, we'll share a little bit more what's in our glass, and hope to see y'all then. Cheers and happy Valentine's.
We'll talk to you later. Take care.
Bye-bye.
And it's over. No.
Here we are. There you go, Canadian wine lovers. I'm here with Mr. Cabernet Franc himself, Brian Schmidt, winemaker at Vineland Estate. Brian, how's it going?
Oh, it's really great to be able to do this with you again. Please forgive me. I still never know where to look at on a computer screen. I'm just driving a tractor and I have a full panoramic vision.
You know what? Next time, Brian, we'll put a tractor right behind the camera. We'll be just fine.
I could change my my screen and I could have a vineyard behind me. But
yeah, I know, eh? Hey, happy Wednesday. I mean, it's always great. I mean, talking Vineland Estate, tasting Vineland Estate, it's always a treat around here. Brian, you've been established in Niagara for a while. I mean, it's not the first moon for Vineland Estate. You guys have been there for a while. You've grown in the region. You've seen the evolution of the wine industry out there. There's something that we've been talking about. It's about the Cabernet Franc renaissance. It's about the Cabernet Franc explosion. How well the Cabernet Franc is growing in Niagara. And Vineland Estate and you have a soft spot. You have a true love for Cabernet Franc. How did Vineland Estate establish himself as a Cabernet Franc leader in the industry? Is it something you guys added in your vision from the very beginning, or it was a transition over time?
Definitely a transition for sure. And I'm reminded of the saying that it's taken a lifetime to become an overnight success. And you're absolutely correct that there seems to be somewhat of a renaissance for Cabernet Franc right now. There's a lot of energy, the same energy that many wine writers and wine enthusiasts talk about Riesling, that they say that's kind of their deserted island wine, that they'll take Riesling with them. So Cabernet Franc is definitely seeing its moment in the sun right now for sure. And to your point, I would say that in my 33 years here at Vineland Estates, I've seen a lot of evolution, and I've seen a lot of transition from sort of a basic rudimentary understanding of grape growing to understanding the specific nuances that require excellence and require a wine region to be able to grow and mature. And we're seeing it across the board, not just at Vineland Estates. And that's something that's really, really important. I think in the VQA annual report, Cabernet Franc was the single largest red grape planted in Ontario in last year. So that means a lot. And so why is it a grape variety that's suited for us? I could do a complete dissertation on that. But more importantly, we have to ask ourselves, what's sustainable? Sustainability is on the minds of every single wine grower in the world right now, not just in Canada. Certainly in Ontario and BC, we've been fraught with issues over the last number of years. But sustainability is so important. Is it going to thrive in your region? Is it going to thrive in your vineyards? And specific vineyards are going to have more success than others, for sure. There's always going to be specific nuances. But in general, can a region lay claim to having success, a greater amount of success with one singular varietal or variety than others? And I think Cabernet Franc has demonstrated itself as being one that is well suited for Ontario. And
so there's different sub-region of Ontario. I mean, from where you are on the escarpment versus Niagara on the lake, I mean, I taste very different expression of Cabernet Franc, and it's one of the strengths of Ontario, of Niagara. We can provide the wine lovers with different aspect and different expression of the Cab Franc. It's a very malleable, like you can malleable, like you can play with Cab Franc a little bit as well. It's very receptive to the winemaker.
That is such an important feature. It's versatility. And so not only at Vineland Estates, at our boutique vineyard that you've had the opportunity to drive through with me, and we did some tailgating in there a number of years ago. So it's incredibly versatile. So light, fresh-bodied, expressive wines, light rosés, or even in some cases, I know that there's a winery, Two Sisters, is doing sparkling. We've done a sparkling in the past. We're working on getting that out to the customers. So sparkling, complete to the other opposite end of the spectrum, where guys like Andrei Lipinski is doing stunning Passamento styles. And so it completely spans the spectrum of all styles. So it's incredibly versatile. But I would say you sort of asked a quite an interesting question at the outset of this. What made Vineland Estates interested in focusing on Cabernet Franc? It definitely was an evolution. I fell in love with it almost immediately. I came from British Columbia, where at the time our family was involved with Sumac Ridge, and we were growing a grape called Chancellor. And so...
Sorry, I didn't want to laugh, but it's just...
Oh my gosh! I'm telling you, I still have PTSD from that wine.
Yeah,
so,
no, I feel for you.
And so I remember as a kid tasting this Chancellor that was made and wondering why on earth would anybody ever drink red wine. I love the white wines that we're making, and why would anybody drink red wine? And so I didn't really grow up enjoying red wine. And I moved to Ontario in 1991 on a very interesting transition to get to Ontario. We'll talk about that some other day if you want. But I met a man named Ed Gorinskas, and Ed Gorinskas was growing grapes not far from us. He and his wife Lorraine had a vineyard called Lakeview Cellars, and I tasted this wine that Ed Gorinskas had made at a Knives and Forks. It was an event that was happening at Cave Spring Cellars in their vineyards, and it was like a fundraiser. There'd be a winery and a vineyard and a winery and a restaurant, and you walk around the vineyards, you're tasting these wines. And I tasted this wine that Ed Gorinskas had made, and it knocked my socks. It blew me away. And I'm like, now I get it. Now I understand why people love red wine, and they flock to it in huge masses. And so this was a Cabernet Franc that he had made, and I fell in love in that moment. And I continued every single year trying to research, learn more, spend more time understanding the nuances, seeking other examples, until 1996 when we purchased the boutique vineyard and we planted some Cabernet Franc. Didn't know what Cabernet Franc was, didn't know clones, didn't know anything. We just put it in the ground. I was so excited to be able to have Cab Franc. And since then, we've been able to create an expression, or a very distinct expression, of Cabernet Franc with the boutique vineyard as a backdrop, as a foundation. And ultimately, we've been able to create a portfolio that is quite representative of some of the best Cabernet Francs in Ontario.
Well,
I'm really thrilled with that.
I tailgated with you. We drove the truck in that little dirt road, and on the right side you got the 2000, well, planted in 1996, the 327 clone, and on the other side the 214.
Right.
And planted 10 years later. And so to me, it's such an exciting thing, because now we are at Carl's Wine Club having a pre-release of the 2020 vintage. It's not on the market yet, but we have it. And I've been tasting both side by side. An incredible difference between these two clones. While the 214 will provide me with floral aspect, a little bit more stiffer tannin, darker fruit, and the 327, I hope I'm not mixing up the numbers here, but the 327 are probably with a little bit more rounder, more approachable style, blue fruits and dark fruits. I mean, it's so much fun to have these two side by side and can make the difference. I mean, is there anyone who has a preference? You have a preference between the two clones? I don't want to ask which one of your children you love the most, but do you have a
Well, I love neither the most. I love my granddaughter the most right now.
Yeah.
But no, they're both absolutely compelling examples of those grape varieties, grown in a very special place. Again, back to the origin story, we had no idea what we were doing. Literally no idea. We just grabbed some Cabernet Franc vines, put them in the ground. So, in essence, we really won the lottery. When you look at all of the distinctive wine regions in the world that are growing celebrated Cabernet Francs, typically the soil structure itself is a little bit more limestone with clay on as an upper layer of soil, and that's really what we have at Boutique. We had no idea that was an essential feature that you needed to be able to grow great Cabernet Franc. We had no idea about that. And so it was all just sort of a lucky happenstance. And each year we've kind of stumbled into these new realizations, and each year we rise to the occasion in terms of understanding the viticultural nuances based on climate, et cetera, in terms of coaxing out the best of those vintages. And so between myself and our vineyard team, we've really learned a lot over the last 25 years. And I was just chatting with Rick Van Sickle. You know Rick well. He tasted a Cabernet Merlot from
1991. 1991, I saw his post.
We had conversation about that, and I was just chatting with Ron Giesbrecht, who has a bottle of that in his cellar. And we've agreed that next week we're going to get together for lunch and taste that together. But understanding what's happened between 1991 and today is an absolutely revolutionary evolution of understanding a specific grape variety and allowing it to slowly ascend to the heights that it has now in terms of the consumer's understanding of Cabernet Franc and winemakers' understanding of Cabernet Franc. So we're super excited about that. And in 2052, I will invite you to come back 30 years later, and we'll taste these wines again. In 2052, we'll have a big tasting.
And your granddaughter is gonna help us to pour the wine, because we might be a little shaky then.
Exactly. So roll me in on my wheelchair.
Yeah. Hey, have you changed your approach in terms of winemaking since 1991? I mean, I guess you did, because your understanding of the grape it's much greater. But do you do different things with the barrels that you used to do, or what's the evolution here?
Making wine in 1991 is completely unrecognizable to today's standards, to what we do in terms of the understanding of the grape variety, in terms of understanding our vineyard, decisions, in terms of understanding our cellar decisions. Everything is different. And I had a pivotal moment in 2010, I believe it was, when I met an unbelievable man, the family that owns Clos Rougeard in France, and having
Clos Rougeard in the Loire Valley, correct?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
It is
one of the iconic establishment in the Loire Valley.
It really is. Charlie and Natty Foucault, two brothers that run that winery. I had the great privilege of meeting Charlie Foucault and tasting with him all day and spending hours with him. And I actually wrote a small little compendium of stories that I'm going to probably try to find a way to publish that. And there's a little vignette about that particular moment in my life. And that really was the pivotal point. After I met Charlie Foucault, everything changed. Every terms of our understanding. And as a young winemaker, as somebody who has a little bit of OCD, I'm constant. You're wanting to control everything, and Charlie taught me that you need to let go. You can't control everything. You have to allow the wine to express itself. If you impose yourself on that grape, it is not going to respond in a way that is favorable. So there's a degree of humility that you have to accept when making great Cabernet Franc, because the grape itself is also incredibly humble. And when you look at its origins, it's very humble origins. When you look at the trajectory of Cabernet Franc in the Loire and how it was the consumers understood it for many, many generations. Humility and is probably the single word that I would use to describe Cabernet Franc.
Ah, that's awesome. Too bad that Mira gave me a timeline here, because we can do that for. Okay.
I'm okay to go longer.
I'm getting the buzz right now. She's zapping me.
It's like one of those dog collars.
I know the dog. Yeah, the dog collar. Hey, thank you, Brian. And the 2020 pre-release single clone, single varietals are in that pack in pre-release. It's really exciting because 2020 vintage was a terrific vintage in Niagara, and I think Cab Franc's taking is bigger and bolder expression from that vintage. So it's an interesting wine to taste.
And we're just pulling 22s out of the barrels right now. We're about to bottle them. Extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary wines. And I would say, in my opinion, better than 2020. And the 2020 was explosive, very, very bold, very big, broad wines. These are a little bit more linear and probably a little bit more consistent with the true personality of Ontario Cabernet Franc. And so I would say 2022, in my opinion, a little more restrained alcohols, better wine than 2020.
I mean, you sent me some bottles when I did the Cabernet Franc marathon, and that's exactly what I noticed. There's a little bit more vibrant. The acid was a little bit more central in the mid palate, so you felt that energy a little bit more. There's a bit more vibrant, right?
Yeah. The 2022s are so exciting. I can't wait to finish wines into your wine club's hands.
It's incredibly exciting. So, okay, I want to talk a little bit about something that we experienced some natural disaster here in British Columbia earlier this winter. As you know, you've been following it pretty closely. You've been texting me quite a while. We've been texting quite a bit about that. So the frost. Now we're in more than in the preliminary results, but it's not looking good. There's not going to be a whole lot of fruit. There's a bunch of conversation around the industry about the term pan-Canadian. This keep coming back a little bit more now. We've been talking about more of helping each other on each side of the country. And I mean, that leads me to think where we're at right now in our history, in the Canadian wine industry, in terms of unity, in terms of we've been kind of split in a sense by VQA BC, VQA Ontario, and we have a beautiful region of Nova Scotia. And it feels like we don't often work hand in hand in terms of showcasing the Canadian wine lovers what we have to offer. And my question to you, and I know you're a big, massive proponent of Canada as a wine country. What does Canadian unity would mean? Like, because to me, I have my idea. I know like what I can see Canada as a Canadian producer in 2024. But what does it mean to you, and how is your vision of Canada in terms of wine as a Canadian unity in wine, in terms of wine?
So that is a huge question, and absolutely we're going to need more than 15 minutes or 3 5-minute segments to be able to pull that one.
You're not going to be happy with me, I'm telling you.
So I'm gonna start with the story first, and then I'm going to share with you my thoughts on what the Canadian wine industry should look like when we grow up in 25 years. And so in 2012, Sandra Oldfield with Tinhorn Creek and I embarked on something called Cab Franc Tuesdays. She's a huge proponent of Cabernet Franc when she was the winemaker at Tinhorn with her team, her husband Ken. We did this Cab Franc Tuesdays where I took a picture of one single grapevine in our Cabernet Franc vineyard and posted it every Tuesday. So we showed the evolution of that grape through the entire season until harvesting the grapes, and then we followed the wine in our cellars, tasted the wine on every Tuesday, and we posted these stories about where BC is, where Ontario is, to understand the difference and the unique characteristics of each region, but combining between British Columbia and Ontario. And this Cab Franc Tuesday really was pivotal in terms of one of the very first sort of pan-Canadian collaborations between two winemakers. And I know that there's been some with larger wineries that have two wineries between both provinces. That's a natural extension for a single entity. But when Sandra and I did this, my dream was to be able to take these 4 barrels of wine that we had made. Each, I made 4, she made 4. I was going to take 2 barrels, load them in a van, drive them across country. Sandra was going to take 2 barrels, drive them across country, and we were going to land in Saskatchewan in a place called, you guessed it, Unity, Saskatchewan. And this was going to happen in 2013. We were going to do this on July 14th, 2013, which would have been my grandfather's 100th birthday. And he was born in Unity, Saskatchewan. So
I have goosebumps.
So we were going to do this, and it all kind of fell apart. There were some legal issues, and there were some problems that we had around using the term unity, etc. So in the end, we just agreed that we would send each other wine back and forth, and we would continue to share stories. And I still I adore Sandra. I know that she's left Tinhorn Creek, and it was a huge blow to the industry. I just spoke with her last week on an unrelated issue, and she's just one of the greatest people on the planet. I love Sandra. And so this was kind of one of those first opportunities that we were going to try to find an opportunity to create unity between the two provinces. Now, as you know, we've had lots of conversations. If I wasn't making wine in Ontario today, I would probably be in Nova Scotia right now. I would be growing grapes in the Annapolis Valley. We're sending some wine to Jörg Stutz at Domaine du Grand Prix next week. We've helped him out because they've also had a problem with frost events that more or less wiped out their region. So, yeah.
And by the way, the Domaine du Grand Prix is a friend of Carl's Wine Club. We featured their wine twice already.
The Stutz family is amazing. Dominic is going to university here, which is Jörg's son.
Oh, that's awesome.
Here at Brock University. And so, yeah, whenever I can, I have try to create an opportunity to see this Stutz family. But I love Nova Scotia. I love this nascent moment that they're at, where they're just beginning to explode. They have unbelievable confidence. They've made some stunning wines. Their sparkling wines are amazing. And in terms of an excitement for a wine region, I really love what's happening there. So my love of Canadian wine spans from both West Coast to East, and obviously right here in the center. So what does unity mean to me? Oh, got some kids that run around in the backyard. Have them come in. I want to say hi. I'm going to be seeing them on Father's Day.
Come on, you're in. You're in early BC, early morning here.
Oh my gosh, you guys got to get to school soon. Oh,
yeah.
That's awesome.
That's the middle one.
Oh, that's amazing. So it's really simple. For me, the what does Canadian wine mean? My neighbor down the street, pick a winery, doesn't matter. I could Megalomaniac, Tawes, Featherstone, Cave Springs, whoever it is. Those wineries are not our competition. We're not in business to try to outdo them. We're in business to work collectively with them in order to enhance our industry. I do not see our neighbors as our competition. Our competition is New Zealand, France, Australia,
Chile, Argentina.
That is our competition, and we need to work collaboratively in order to grow this industry, in order to be able to create a truly Canadian signature for Canadian wine. I was born in the Okanagan Valley. My heart is there. My father's ashes are resting at St. Hubertus Vineyard. Now the Gabriel family allowed us to do that, to spread his ashes there. I have a love of the Gabriel family. They're amazing. And so my heart, and in essence, my soul is sort of spread between all of these amazing Canadian wine regions. And so for me, the notion that we are separate in any way, shape, or form is really counterintuitive to me. It doesn't make sense. Canadians in general, we should be proud of our industries, whether it's Ontario, Quebec, Nova Scotia, British Columbia. We should be proud of and support each other. The notion that Alberta is doing what they're doing to the BC wineries right now is absolutely insane. This sort of partisan politics should never, ever, ever enter the wine industry. We should be unity. You should be unified. And so when we grow up, will there be a VQA Canada? I really hope so. We're working hard to make that happen. We're going to remove barriers where possible in order to make it happen. We're going to find opportunities to have collaborative conversations about this, and to ensure that 25 years from now, people think of Canadian wine as one, not as four separate regions.
And also that we can finally at some point have a 20 pays, the VP like they do in France, so we can have Richard De Silva and Rob Amersley collaborating with Brian and the sons of Jorge Stutz that make wines together without being freaking hunted down and being told that what they do is completely illegal. Like, I mean, it's a nonsense, right?
Yeah. So out of the ashes, sort of the phoenix rises from the flame. And when we have horrible events that has happened in 2 years in a row in British Columbia, we had it in 2022 in Ontario, where we lost 50% of our crop. These events are terrible, and it cannot be understated just how difficult it's going to be for the BC wine industry to come out of this. And I don't think I'm being hyperbolic when I say it. It's a real problem. And so Ontario wineries, we need to do what we can in order to help them, in order to be able to create trust between each other. And so what's going to happen now over the next little while is that you're going to start seeing small examples of this. Same thing I did with Sandra Oldfield in 2012. I've had lots of conversations with Richard De Silva over the last little while. We're exchanging cases of wine this week so we can taste each other's wines and learn about each other's styles. Rob Hammersley, I'm sure we're going to do something with him. Jeff Hunter-Mark from
Mount Boucherie.
Mount Boucherie. Jeff and I are great friends. Jeff used to be the winemaker at a winery just down the street from here. So we're going to find ways to collaborate, and we're going to find ways to build a bridge between our two regions. And just in small microscopic examples of how you can work together, we're going to build that. We're going to do that. And then begin to create trust between each other and begin to create a conversation. What's possible? Can we do this? Yes, we can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that's we're sharing the same vision. And good news, on the way now, Purolator has picked up over 50 samples of Ontario wines yesterday, and they're on their way to Carl's Wine Club. That with next week on Thursday, we're going to host at the Okanagan College a tasting to showcase all of the BC producers who would like to taste some example of different grape varietals from Ontario. So we're going to offer that as a trust building stepping stone between both. So it's happening next week. So I booked the sensory room at the Okanagan College. All day long, we're going to have that available. So thanks to Frank Neufeld at the Niagara Wine Exchange, who spent a lot of time collecting samples and labeling the whole thing. So we're very excited to start opening the doors, like connecting some dots right in between, so we can increase that.
Well, you are a bridge builder. You and Mira, your outset at this when you started Carl's Wine Club was to create a pan-Canadian expression of wine in in our beautiful country and all of our beautiful wine regions. And you guys really started that with when we did the Pan-Canadian wine tasting last summer at Pondview. Like-minded winemaker again, and winery owner with Marcel Morgenstern, fantastic guy. And so you guys have really built that. And so the template is there. You guys built the template. We just have to continue. You've built it from a consumer level and from a winemaker personality level. What we need to do is take it down one level more and get it into the winery owner's hands, into the winemaker's hands, and have them begin to do exactly what you've done with your wine club, but at the winery level.
At the winery level.
So thank you very much for that.
Oh,
and thank you to all Carl's Wine Club members for believing in us and believing in you guys.
Oh, thank you. And in terms of Pan-Canadian, I mean, good news. Hester Creek here, one of our amazing winery in the South Okanagan. I've confirmed that we're going to host Pan-Canadian 2.0, the BC edition, on June 15. And you're going to be part of it. You're traveling to BC. Marcel and Lupo Galisi have confirmed they're going to travel to BC. Just had a chat with Ilya Senchuk this very morning at 6 a.m. BC time, and Ilya confirmed he's part of it as well. He's going to book his ticket to BC. Keith Dyer from Claus & Chase in Prince Edward County. Keith has confirmed this week he is coming across the country as well. I had a chat with Kimberly Undermark yesterday at the Okanagan Wine Festival. They want to get involved a little bit to promote the event on the wilder scale. We got some journalists from Wine Enthusiast who booked their ticket, booked their flight to spend a full weekend in the Okanagan to cover the whole event. So I mean, it's shaping up right now. The 2.0 is shaping up to be pretty darn cool.
Well, and congratulations to you guys again. It's just amazing seeing this evolve and to be allowed to participate at the ground level last year and now this year. But interestingly enough, we're doing this as a pre-recorded. I'm so very sorry. Normally, you guys are going to be doing this at 8 o'clock my time tonight. I wasn't able to convince my wife the notion that I'm going to spend Valentine's with Carl and then also Father's Day in June. However, so I apologize for pre-recorded on this one.
I mean, we completely understand your wife. We understand your family, and we're grateful for your time. And before I let you go, there's 2 Rockstar wine I want to talk about, because connecting us with Pan-Canadian 1.0, it was the 2022 Elevation Riesling, who was not on the market at that time last year.
Right.
I give it a 93 points because I thought the freshness and the balance between acid and sweetness was in such an explosive and beautiful version of Riesling. And you were mentioning that 2022 might be one of the best vintage for Riesling. When we were sitting on the panel.
Yeah, best vintage for Riesling for sure that I've done in recent history. These vines were planted in 1979, so the age of these vines is really beginning to become an incredibly important feature of the structure of these wines. Those roots go deep into this limestone, and so the 2022. Oftentimes we speak about the quality of a vintage based solely on the characteristics of the red wines made, and white wines are often not overlooked. But you have a better chance of making great white wines in almost every vintage, cooler or hotter or warmer. And because 2022 was such an exceptional vintage, I can say safely that both whites and reds performed extraordinarily well. And the Riesling from the St. Urban Vineyard that produced that particular elevation Riesling were absolutely stunning. The pristine condition in the vineyards, the numbers were perfect. We talk about the chemistry of wine. The
purity of the flavors
was absolutely stunning. And when you look at the crop levels, the natural crop levels that we always normally have on the bench itself, they're much farther reduced than, say, areas that have much more access to water. So our crop levels were around 3.8 tons per acre, a little bit less for the elevation. And all of those characteristics converge to make what I think is one of the most classic, expressive examples of Riesling in Ontario.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And speaking about great vintage, but more for red, we have access, and I'm so grateful for what Al did and what you have agreed on. 8 cases available of the 2016 of the Elevation Cabs. I mean, 16 was known as a hot vintage out there, so probably very well suited for the reds that we have in there.
Well, it was also on the tails of 2015, which was a cold vintage for us, cooler vintage. So we were recovering. The winter of 2013 to 14 was terrible for us. 14 to 15 was terrible. We lost around 59,000 vines in our vineyards in those years. It was horrible. And so, in order to be able to continue to feature the boutique vineyard as a fundamental feature, we had to make some pretty harsh decisions in those years. It was the years that I stopped growing Cabernet Sauvignon. So as an example, the Cabernet Franc that you drove through, right beside it was Cabernet Sauvignon. And of the 15 acres of Cab Sauv that we had, we lost around 70% of those vines. The Cabernet Franc right beside it, we lost around 2% of those vines.
I mean,
And
that makes a decision not like easier to rationalize, right?
Absolutely. And so the notion of growing Cabernet Sauvignon ended there, in the same way it did with Merlot in 1996 when we lost a lot of Merlot in 1996. So Mother Nature makes these decisions for us, and so we're able to take this 2016 vintage, which was again stunning, absolutely glorious, and produce these stunning reserves and the elevation. And so we're so happy to be able to have that wine. We have 10 cases of it. I didn't want to give you everything, so you guys have access to 8 cases. Stunning, extraordinary wine. And we talked a little bit about what are some of the features that we do that differentiate us from others. One of the really important features that we do is we put so much energy into our vineyards. We put so much energy into growing the grapes. We bring them into the cellars. We've modified some of our winemaking techniques over the last decade and a half or so, based on the conversations I had with Charlie Foucault. And these wines then go into neutral barrels. I have not bought a brand new barrel since 2009. So all of our wines go into neutral barrels. It's strange to me that one of the first decisions we make after spending a year growing these grapes and spending months vinifying these wines in our cellars, to put them into a barrel, because we want these wines to taste of our place. We want them to taste of boutique. We want to be able to create a personality for the boutique vineyard that will last for generations. And Chambolle-Musigny has had 160 years, or more, obviously more, codified about 160 years ago, in understanding what it tastes like. People have a reference point for that. So we're building the reference point now for the boutique vineyard. And it was strange to me that why would I take a brand new barrel and allow the wine to enter into a brand new barrel to taste of a different place? And so we've worked feverishly to find ways in order to vinify wines in neutral barrels to be able to create the expression that you have in these wines without it being oaky. So the barrel itself does its work, and that's an important feature. But it's not expressing all of its oak nuances into the wine. So you're not going to have a huge expression of oak. And I'm going to send you these stories. You're going to read them. And it talks a lot about the decisions that we made and how we got to this point.
I mean, the texture in that wine is absolutely insane. Like, it's creamy, it's soft, it's silky. And the length, it's just like, it's a story on its own. It just keeps going and evolving. There's a bright minerality in that wine as well. A little charcoal graphite who shows at the end mixed with the spice. Oh my God, this is an absolute treat to drink. So thank you, Brian. I appreciate your time. Happy Valentine's Day to you and your.
I'd give you a big hug if I was there.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much for your time, my friend.
I'm going to try to hop on tonight as well, and I'll listen a little bit here and there once we're done our dinner. But it was really great that we could carve out some time to do this morning. And to Carl's Wine Club lovers and to Carl's Wine Club members, thank you so much for everything that you have done to grow this pan-Canadian family that Carl and Mira have spent so much time building. I look forward to meeting some of you in June at Hester Creek with our second annual Pan-Canadian wine tasting. And I look forward to future endeavors where we can continue to explore the excellence of Canadian wine.
Thank you, Brian. You have a great day, my friend. We'll talk to you later. Take care.
Yeah. Woo! Here I am reporting from my Valentine's throne with the guy with the Valentine's shirt. That interview. Wow.
I mean,
that was something else.
I mean, 3 years now.
Amazing.
3 years, every Wednesday, almost every Wednesday, we have someone new. I mean, it's hundreds of interviews. This one, I I mean, it's hard to beat.
And it was pretty funny because this morning we didn't know what time I'd be able to line these two dynamic people together, Carl and Brian. So it just happened. He was like, "I'm free right now. Are you?" And Carl's like, "Yes." And they're both, I can tell they're running around. Brian's like, "I'm just trying to quiet down some of the sounds from one of the winemaking processes we're doing right now." And Carl's like, "Should I wear a toque? I got to do my hair."
Well, because it was like 6 something, like 6 a.m., right?
Yeah,
So,
but that was just beautiful and so candid. I love it.
I mean, and that, well, should I have to talk about the 15-minute timeline as well? Or
Well,
no?
I said you have 15 minutes because I mean,
and
you got to put some kind of parameter on
some
it.
kind of it, and I had to get the kids ready to go to school, drop the kids off to school. Anyway,
All right.
I sat there, and to be honest, like when it's like getting ready for a hockey game or like very important game, and when the puck drop, no, you just play, right? Like you forget the crowd, you forget what's at stake, you just play the game. And I sat down in my chair upstairs, not the throne, okay, but I sat there upstairs, and when we pushed recording, it was like just boom, let's chat about wine, and let's chat. It was
Always
not
the best thing.
it was not prepared with any topic or anything. I don't know. It's just like this 36-minute interview. It was something unique.
Okay.
And I mean, the part yeah, he sent me, so he's talking about the little snippet of stories that he put together. Yes, he sent me these stories this afternoon, and I read some of them. I read about it. And I mean, the depth and the thought and all of the thing behind Brian's thought process and emotion, because it's such an emotional part of his life. He's not a rational, like a square thinker, like winemaking process science and thinking. No, he's an emotional guy, and you can feel it when we're talking about all of that. And just I read a snippet, and I can just like feel his presence in France when he's sitting with the maître de chai at Chateau Mouton Rothschild, and like the stories are incredible. And that's Claude Vougard, the way that it shaped his vision for the future. I mean, yeah, it's a real treat to be part of to read these stories and to have these candid and like deep chat like we had this morning, really impromptu. So incredible time, and we're blessed, and we're tasting these freaking amazing wines here.
Okay. So we had 327-214 from Vineland in our glass. So these are the boutique pre-releases that only Carl's Wine Club members have access to right now, from the 2020 vintage, the vintage of the century. So these
we'll
are
have to stop using vintage of the century when we talk about 2020 Vineland, because if you listen to the interview, but Brian is pushing for 2022.
Yeah, he thinks 2022 is more the vintage of the century.
But anyway, 2020 a vintage for the ages for reds. I mean, this vintage for reds, like we can't argue that 2020 for big reds is iconic vintage. So
for Niagara.
So preview of what's going to be available maybe in a year on the market. We have it here right now.
It's a beauty.
Just like I did in November when we did our incredible Cab Franc marathon, the 327 came on top in terms of score for me. I scored back then 327, 92 points, and the 214, 90 plus points. I adjusted the 314 to 91 point because I think the last 3 months softened up a bit. But still, the 327 is so soft and just chocolatey, spicy. The fruit is just like so sensual. So yeah, so Valentine's. Yes. So ooh.
I love it.
The 214. It's going to be a little bit more for later on. It's still stiffer on the tannin, more floral, more earthy. I will be thrilled to taste that in 5 years, to be honest. It's more for the long term. But right now, these two wines are so cool to be tasted side by side. I mean,
so Susan Beekhouse is having friends over and tasting these two side by side in a few weeks. So Susan, we need to hear back from you.
absolutely.
What you guys thought.
And it's like I was talking with Brian in November after the Cab Franc marathon, and I was telling them that I kind of preferred the 327 to my opinion. And it's like, it's so funny because depending on the vintage, sometimes the 214, depending, it's going to come on top and like back and forth, and depending where they are on the curve as well. So
and this is where they're from. Like literally, those two bottles that Brian has on the tailgate, those are the 327 and the 214 clones. Behind him, I think, is the 214 vineyard.
And behind
on the
me,
other side, behind Carl, would be the 327 vineyard. So that's the only difference. Different clones,
that little dirt road.
And that little dirt road. That's the only
right
difference.
In between. And like that's one of the greatest experiences I've had visiting wineries. And we quite often get the red carpet, right?
Pretty incredible.
I mean, and we do like barrel tasting and this and that, but just the way that happened when Brian pulled in front of the door at the winery and say, hop in the truck. What do you mean hop in the truck? We're 6 of us and there's a truck. Say, what would you mind? Hop in the freaking back of the truck. And so we went tailgating. He said, we're going tailgating. And there's the cooler in the back of the truck. And yeah, we went to the like for each vineyard we were visiting, there was a bottle in the cooler from there. And yeah, when we got to Boutique, that's the magic of like the dirt road on one side and the other. And now you taste it just side by side, just how it is beside on each side of the dirt road. And yeah, there's 10 years difference between the 327 is 10 year older, planted in 96, 2006 for the 214. Just to recap, if you hear me saying these two numbers over and over and over again, I mean, it's the number of the clone, and it's Cab Franc. It's made the same way, exact same winemaking process, exact same plot of land. It's just the clone of the Cabernet Franc is different, and it's huge. The difference in the glass is incredible. And the other wine that we have tonight, it's another wine from the same vineyard, a small, I think it's a couple of acres of Pinot Meunier. So Pinot Meunier, if you follow the Champagne region in France, it's a blending grape that they use in their champagne. Very rarely you'll see a Pinot Meunier on its own because it's usually a blending grape. No, not only we have 100% Pinot Meunier wine, we have one rosé sparkling in the pack, but we also have that single clone Pinot Meunier in the red version. This is elegant. This is finesse. This is, I would say, seductive. It's like a little mix this time. Because vintage to vintage, it can be very different depending. The 2020 was a little bit bigger. I kind of compare that a Gamay cross with a Cabernet Franc with the 2020. When I tasted that, I was like, no, we're much more about the Pinot Noir with the earthiness of a Gamay. So 2020 is a little more elegant, not as full body, not as bold, but there's some spice. There's just so much going on in that little Pinot Meunier. So you want to trick your wine drinking partner. You want to do a fun blind taste to see if someone pretend to know shit when you talk about wine. Put that in the brown bag and tell me what it's in there. I have a fun story about Pinot Meunier to tell you.
Oh, yeah. Carl almost walked home, not once, but twice from a blind tasting.
Both on Pinot Meunier. Both on the same wine. So, yeah. So last year, we were at Black Market. One of our epic wine o'clock Friday afternoon blind tasting. And there's like dozens of bottles. And we all give our opinion. And I had a white Pinot Meunier, so just the free run juice from just the winery next door from here in Summerland, 8th generation. Anyway, I bet not only my paycheck, my children's, and everything that it was a Sauvignon Blanc. And I said, if it's not a Sauvignon Blanc, I'm walking home just to to be specific, Black Market is 35 minutes drive from home. Okay. Drive. And I was so sure that it was a Sauvignon Blanc anyway. So like we
So
had a
it was
good
a
laugh.
white
Pinot
Pinot Meunier.
Meunier. But if you want to blind taste someone, put a bottle of that single clone Cabernet Franc, Pinot Meunier
Meunier.
from Vineland, and you will have a lot of fun to see what people are going to call, people will think. So anyway,
what did you say Pinot Meunier is? Like what, Gamay?
well, this specific version, that 2021 version, I would say is a little bit more like Pinot Noir, like a fine Pinot Noir with the earthiness of a Gamay, with the little meatiness of a Gamay. So, very different than the 2020 was. These are made in small batch, these single vineyard, boutique vineyards. So, and also in the pack, we have another boutique vineyard, single clone. It's our Chardonnay. I bet that you know that I'm a big fan of Chardonnay, and that Clone 76 Chardonnay from the 2021 vintage. Hence her to call again this year. This is a stunning example of the 20-mile bench. It's that little wild ferment, caramel at the end, white flower, a little bit of peach, but like in the frame of citrus, lemon meringue. I love that wine. I absolutely love that wine. And again, like for $25, are you kidding me? Including tax.
This is like a $20 BC wine.
I know. And like the precision, the expression of terroir of that wine is freaking awesome. 91 point Carl's Wine Club. I'm talking about value. Listen, there's that Cab Franc 2021 vintage, 100% Cabernet Franc, $15.95.
Oh yes.
$15.95.
Gotta be a lost leader. I don't know, but
okay, because I had a 15-minute timeline for my interview this morning.
You
I didn't have time to talk about
about
value. How the fuck do you do that, Brian? Like, how is it possible? The economy of scale of making that $15.95 wine with the quality of these grapes. I mean, are you kidding me? We don't see that. It's 2024. I live in British Columbia. I don't see wines at $19.95, including tax.
And this is $15.95 including tax.
$15.95 including tax. It's a 90+ point. I mean, you're looking for a first bottle on a Tuesday night with pizza. You're looking for the 7th bottle on a Saturday night when the house is packed at home. Everyone is over here, and you don't want to crack another $50 bottle. You pull that, and it's like, this is the seller insurance. I'm using Marcel Morgenstern terminology
from
here.
Bellaterra,
but
also make incredible value.
Yeah,
especially with their Burnship Bay wine.
Absolutely. But yeah, $15.95 for that Cab Franc, a Chardonnay Muscat at $19.95. That it's creamy, that it's fresh. That's that floral expression of the Muscat. So Chardonnay, stainless steel, no oak. But that little floral note that make the Muscat so unique. And this is another example of what they do at Vineland. And like I was talking with someone on Facebook today, commenting on that. But anyway, Pinot Meunier Sparkling at $30, a single varietal Pinot Meunier Rosé Sparkling, absolutely delicious. I give it a 90+ point, or no, 91 maybe. Anyway, right up there with some of the fun bubbly that we had over the years, and I'm a big fan of that bubbly Pinot Meunier. So yeah, stunning. We talk about the 2016 in the interview. So 293 points. In that pack, the Elevation Riesling and the Elevation Cabernet. These are rock star wines. I mean, that 16 is priming. And it's like, it's the perfect Valentine's night, that 16, because it's just like my Valentine's. It's priming. Absolutely priming at the moment. Should I say that? No? Inappropriate? Okay, no, maybe. That wine is fantastic. There's the curve of a wine, right? Start here, it's a young wine, and it gets at the peak here of this curve, and this one is right at this peak. And it's unique because it's not available. Absolutely not available on the
Yeah.
market. Only 8 cases available.
Yeah.
So if you want a special wine that you won't find anywhere, even if you go to the winery, unless you call Brian Schmidt on his cell phone, this wine is not available. So this is special. And the 2022 Riesling, another 93 points. That's the one that we took to Niagara for the first ever Pan-Canadian, according to Brian Schmidt. Best vintage in recent memories for Riesling in Niagara. That 2022 has so much potential. This wine is going to last for a long time. So yeah, so an incredible freaking feature, because you get 6 bottles for $136, including tax.
Including tax.
Including tax. On that, in that, you have 2 single vineyard, single clone, single varietals.
Oh, amazing.
Duh. And 4 bottles option, 4 bonus option with the 2 single clone Cab Franc, the Charmat method sparkling, and
The elevation.
the rare elevation library release. So I mean, this offer is hot. This offer is hot.
Very hot.
2 pre-release, 1 library, and like 293 points. So yeah, it's exciting. We have a hot start of our year here at Carl's Wine Club, telling you. So now this feature is really, really exciting. $136. Boom. So
amazing. And
Yeah.
free shipping in Ontario, free shipping in the rest of the country if you go bump up your order to $250. Or of course, if you are a VIP Unlimited or Plus member, you can get free shipping for 6 or more bottles as part of your membership. So
by the way, this is the 327 versus the 214. So if I use Mira's
yeah, you
Scale
know
of
which
rating.
one Carl enjoys more, and it's actually, yeah, I have a real bias for the 327 as well.
Yeah, at this point, at the moment, it's really opening up. It's super, super cool. So pre-release, Boutique Vineyard, single clone, Cabernet Franc. Yeah, so that makes it for a
Very fun
Valentine's edition of Carl's Wine Club Wine Wednesday. So thanks, Valentine's.
Yeah.
There you
Thank
go.
you guys. Thanks for everyone stopping by, telling us what you're opening tonight. Sounds amazing. Amber in our VIP group just opened the 7 Directions Rosé, and she says it tastes and feels like summer now. And you know what? It's right around the corner, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's like, yeah, at some point it's going to be here. So,
Amazing.
yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks to Brian Schmidt, who's having a Valentine's dinner tonight. Thanks, Brian, for joining me this morning for this amazing interview. If you haven't had the chance to look at the interview, go back and listen to it. It's worth every second of the 36 minutes.
Really cool chat.
Really cool chat. So thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, thank you. See you next time.